Growing up in Bosnia, my father was raised by my grandfather in a way that shaped him to be the man who he is today. Old school to modern flair was how my father would describe it. Um, Discipline, trust, respect were all stressed throughout my father's childhood and his teenage years. And respect to my father meant treating his parents with utmost respect, of course, and listening to what they had to say and listening to what whatever they needed him to do and whatnot. My father and his father had a very close bond in that they could talk about with each other about anything and everything, and I think that's a huge part of the whole trust aspect of my father and my grandfather's relationship. My father would tell me how his father and him would talk about anything and everything all the time, and they had a very close relationship. They were almost like, you could say they were like best friends at times. And I think that ties into the whole trust aspect that, my father teaches me and, his father teached him. And, with that trust, you're able to talk about, with your father about anything and everything. And, you can tell him, because he's understanding, and I trust that if I tell him something, he'll be able to guide me through where, the right path that he thinks that I should take. And that's a huge part of my relationship today with my father. We're very close-knit, like friends, and that's one of the best things about how I was raised. My father raised me very similarly to how his father raised him. Discipline was a huge part of my childhood and teenage years, and now and everything. I think it will continue to be a part of my life. I listen to my father's rules, or to both my parents' rules, and I listen to their directions. If they need me to help around the house, I help around the house. And in terms of like going out, with my friends and hanging out, my father understands what it was like to be a teenager, because he was, a while ago, a teenager. And now, as long as I'm very honest with him, and he trusts me to, that I'll say, if I want to go to a party, I'll say, listen, Dad, I want to go to this party, I promise I'll be safe and everything. And, obviously he wants to check up on me, and, I have to send him texts and stuff. But, I think that has to do with the whole, close-knit relationship that I have with my father. I can always talk to him about everything and anything, and, if I'm telling him that I'm going to a certain place, he trusts that I'm actually going to that certain place. And, if I say I'm going to the movies, then I'm actually going to the movies. If I say I'm going to a party, then I'm actually going to a party. And, that's just a huge part of our relationship. And ever since, I was a little child, my father's always pushed me to do my best, because he had a huge amount of confidence in me and my abilities. Playing soccer, at a very young age, he was always like pushing me to do my best and, to try harder and, try harder than everyone else. He always told me, like coming into America, at a very young age, I always have to try twice as hard, because, to kind of get back up to that level that I need to be at in order to be, successful, whether I'm playing soccer or whether it's in school. He's always pushing me, do your homework, study for your tests. You don't have to have a lot of fun right this moment. You'll have time to have fun later, but for this like 2 hours or so, just study hard and get a good grade. And throughout the whole raising of myself, my father always believed that I could be whatever I wanted to be, and he had huge confidence in me. And with him pushing me, I feel confidence in myself, because I notice those differences. I notice, if I'm putting an extra hour or two in studying, or an extra hour or two, at the gym, or, shooting like soccer, I notice those differences. And, if I, wasn't raised how my father raised me, I don't know if I would ever, be able to be at the level where I am, whether it's in soccer or school or any of that. I think my father, really shaped me into the person I am today, and, who I'll be in the future. I look at a lot of kids, and, perhaps their parents, the way that they taught them, and the values that they had in their childhood were, you know, sometimes different than mine, and I kind of notice them, you know, how they act and how they, you know, act to their parents and to other people and what they do. Sometimes, you know, sometimes it's a little bad, and I'm very grateful to have had such a father who raised me, you know, the same way that his father raised him. And, you know, now I feel very comfortable speaking to my father if I ever have any problem, to both my parents, but, you know, mainly my father. You know, he's really been there for me whenever I've needed him. And, you know, he's pushed me. He's pushed me to be who I am today, and, you know, always try twice as hard as everyone else just so I can, you know, be the best that I can. And the confidence he put in me is ridiculous. You know, I mean, it's insane how much, like, confidence he put into me and how much that raised my own confidence. And, you know, playing soccer or school or anything, I'm always able to, you know, succeed. And I think that, you know, growing up, and now I'm going to college soon, and, you know, whatever the road takes me ahead, you know, I feel like I'll be prepared just because of the way my father's taught me. And, you know, the whole idea of having a close-knit relationship with my father, you know, I think it's very, very helpful, you know, and you know, I've made mistakes, and everyone makes mistakes, and I think the big part is, you know, to learn from those mistakes. And, you know, I feel like my father has taught me from his mistakes. You know, like, prior to me making that mistake, my father, you know, talks me through something and makes sure that I don't make the same mistake that he did. And, you know, I think that, you know, when children, I'll want to teach them the same way, you know, and, you know, make sure that they don't make the mistakes that I may have made. And, you know, it was an amazing, you know, childhood. I had a lot of fun, and, you know, my family is all very close to each other and very, you know, very close relationship with all my family. And I think that that's very important, especially into what you'll become in the future, and, you know, ideally successful. And I think all parents want that, but the ways that they show how to get to that success, you know, and success is different to everybody. You know, some people have different views of what success is. And, you know, so far my family, my father and, you know, my mother and my grandmother and, you know, everyone in my family really has raised me to be into who I am today. And, you know, I'm very grateful for that.